They shoved Tala into a freight car and called her a killer. One tired rancher watched and pulled the coupler pin. Rope burned her wrists. A freight car door yawned open. A guard with a tin star barked, "Load her and lock it." Another man held a poster with her face, "Wanted murder." A lie. She tasted metal. Not fear, anger. She was an Apache translator, not a killer. Windows shut. Across the street, a tired rancher sat on his horse. Evan Cole. He had brought cattle to buy salt and seed and be done with people. But the poster's crackle found him. The sponsor line carried a faint telegraph routing code, the kind clerks used when messages jumped station to station. Tala lifted her chin. "Do not fold," she told her bones. "Do not beg." The deputy tugged the rope again. Near the rail, a boy dropped a sack and ran. The guard turned and cursed. Small gaps open and close every day, she thought. You live by finding one. Evan's horse breathed steam. He saw the riders proud, loose, sure no one would fight them in daylight. A slip slid half out of the deputy's pocket when the man shoved the poster away. A railroad pay stub with the same routing code. Money moved on paper first, then in hand. He did not want this fight. He wanted quiet. Wheel chock sat half buried in snow. The coupler pin stood black with soot. Evan swung down and walked toward the rail like a man checking a hoof. No hurry, no noise. The street fell a hair toward the river. "The car would roll if free, sir," the guard barked. "Keep moving." "Looking for the foreman," Evan said. "Need scales on my cattle." He did not change pace. He did not look at Tala. She watched him. Gray eyes after a long season. He smelled of horse and dust. Evan reached the coupler. His glove lifted. One tug, clean and quick. The pin slid free with a dull clack. He palmed it and kept walking. The freight car shivered, then rolled. Men shouted. The deputy lunged for Tala and stumbled. The poster tore. Evan caught the ladder and swung up as the car gathered pace. Tala felt the rope slacken. She waited one beat. The moving car dragged a chain. A barrel toppled. Nails poured over the platform. Hooves slipped. In the noise, Evan dropped inside, crossed to the far door, and kicked it open. "Now," he said. Tala dove. A rider's hand closed on air where her braid had been. She hit the straw, rolled, and rose near the open door. Evan's knife flashed. The rope fell from her wrist. "Can you jump?" he asked. Yes, they jumped. Snow slammed up. They ran along the car as it rolled downhill, using it as a moving wall. Shots cracked. A bullet hummed past and was buried in a post. "Left," Evan said. He pointed once. They cut behind the grain house and dropped into the lee of stacked timbers. The runaway car rattled toward the river, a loud decoy that pulled half the riders with it. Tala pressed her raw wrists to her coat. Evan scanned the yard in short, clean slices, counting dangers the way another man might count coins. He handed her the folded stub he had lifted when the deputy stumbled. The code matched the poster. "They move reward money through the line," he said. "Clerk stamps, boss signs, deputy collects. You were never meant to see a court." "Then I won't," she said. Not theirs. 2 riders had stayed. One banged a stirrup on a rail. The other slid along the stable wall. Evan picked up a nail from the snow and flicked it where Tala could see. "Quiet plan, no words, hold, wait, act on my mark." The first rider leaned out. Evan rose and fired once. The man's hat leapt and fell into the snow. "Warning spent," Evan said. Downhill the car hit the curve and wailed, then splashed. The men left behind chose the noise and spurred away. Tala's legs shook now that stillness came. Not fear. The weight of what almost was. She looked at Evan. "Why help me?" "Because a line was crossed." "What line?" "The kind you feel before you see it." He gave her the poster scrap and the stub. "Keep these. They're proof." He glanced at the sun behind the cloud. "We can be gone before they gather again." Tala flexed her fingers, feeling blood return, hot and painful, but proof that her hands were her own again. Tala nodded. Her breath steadied. She followed him toward the alley where a sorrel horse waited. Behind them, snow kept falling, quieting the town that had tried to bury her in iron. Wind pushed loose snow along the alley as Evan led the sorrel. Tala kept low beside him. Yard noise faded, broken by the runaway car clattering toward the river. Her wrists burned where the rope had cut. She hid the torn poster and the pay stub against her ribs. They crossed a yard stacked with cordwood. Evan paused once to listen, then moved on. He moved with no waste. Beyond the last shed, the ground fell to a lane. They reached his horse, swung up together, and slid into the white light. Evan let the sorrel choose its pace. Behind them, riders' calls rose, then faded as men chose the louder chase downriver. "We need one quiet minute," he said. "Then we read what you're carrying." Tala nodded. She had trained her mind the way her mother trained sinew. Pull, hold, breathe. They cut behind the tannery and climbed a ridge where the wind kept drifts thin. From there she saw the water tower and the crooked car near the bend. Their eyes would be there, not here. Evan helped her down behind a broken stone wall. He took off one glove and held out his hand. She placed the papers in his palm. The stub carried a routing code of letters and numbers with tiny marks like teeth. Tala leaned close. "They used an internal pattern," she said. 3 dots over the middle digit tells the clerk to move the message 2 stations without logging it. It hides the entry. And the suffix, N-4, means cash, not goods. "You read their bones," Evan said. "I learned where men wrote one thing and sent another," she said. She pointed to the poster scrap. The sponsor line hid the same marks. "This bounty rode the same shadow route. Someone used the railroad's chain to hang a lie." Evan's jaw worked once. Deputy carries paper to the line boss. The boss pushes it through the clerk. Reward money walks in daylight while truth walks blindfolded. "Which means they cannot risk a judge," Tala said. "They must move me fast." They tried. He looked down the slope. "We won once. Not in the open twice." He unfolded a small pencil and wrote the code on the back of the scrap. He wrote town marks, arrowed them, then circled 2. "These stations listen to each other," he said. "If we tell both at once, the lie jams. You want to send your own message. I want to make the truth loud," he said. "There and there, but not from here." Wind carried a far shout and a mule's bell. Tala watched his hands steady as the problem took shape. He worked as he fought, direct, clean. "You could ride alone," she said. "Leave me hidden." "You did enough." He shook his head. A line was crossed. He looked at the pale sky. When a line is crossed, you move it back or live smaller every day. Heat like a small stone settled in her chest. "I will not live smaller," she said. "Then we ride to my place," he said. "Water and a table. I have a wire I can splice, and you run your own wire." "Old habit," he said. "A ranch that waits on farm men for news dies thirsty." They mounted. Hoofbeats counted time. The land opened, sage, thin snow, a creek like black glass. In the distance, river stones cut the wash. "What is that?" she asked. "Dry Fork Crossing," he said. "Boundary stones." It felt like a place where a promise could be kept. They dropped into cottonwoods and followed the creek. A hawk lifted from a fence post. Tala fixed each bend, the smell of willow, the tick of ice. Evan spoke without turning. "The deputy will be angry. The boss is careful. Angry men ride loud. Careful men ride quietly. We must hear the quiet ones first." "We will," she said. They topped a rise and saw the ranch. Yard rutted by wagons, the water tower leaning, cows near the corral. Evan's shoulders eased. He slid down and offered his hand. She took it. Inside, heat from a banked stove moved slowly. He set a tin cup and a heel of bread before her, then cleared a patch of the table and laid the papers flat. "Once we show the path of the lie," he said, "we break its legs." Tala met his eyes. "And if they come first?" "Then we make a line," he said. "And we hold it," she nodded. "Make it. I will help hold." Outside, the wind swung the tower. Far behind, a shout drifted thin as smoke. It did not matter. They had proof, a plan, and a place to stand. The lie had moved in secret. Next, it would have to walk in the light. They would not look away again now. Evan showed Tala where the well ran shallow and where the troughs froze first. The drought had bitten the ranch. Every bucket mattered. He moved with the worn grace of a man who had fixed the same break 100 times. Tala watched, learning the map of his days. He gave her an old coat and clean bandages. She wrapped her wrists and felt heat steady under the cloth. He set a kettle, filled the lamp, and checked the door latch. Quiet work, no speech wasted. She matched his pace. After bread and tea, he brought out a coil of wire. He set it beside a small key and a battered sounder. "This is the line I can reach," he said. "A spur the company forgot to pull. It runs to Dry Fork and the North Road." "You kept it alive," she said. "I tapped it when storms came," he said. "Neighbors share news. Today it carries more." He looked at the poster scrap. "We will make the lie walk in daylight." He pushed the table against the wall and spread a map. He marked stations, laid the torn stub and the poster beside them. "We write truth in plain code and clerk code," he said, "both at once." Tala traced the route. "If we name the deputy and the line boss, they will try to cut the wire. They will also ride," he said. "Angry men move faster than I can send." A dog barked from the far yard. Evan lifted the window cloth. A rider stood on the ridge above the creek, just inside rifle range, not close enough to talk. He faced the house and waited. "They found us," Tala said. "They found me," he said. "They want me to hand you over or crawl." He let the cloth fall. "They will lean on threat and time." A voice on a tin horn rolled across the wash. "Cole, by sundown she rides with us. Do not make us take her." Evan set his hat on the peg, then took it down and brushed the brim. The motion steadied him. He looked at Tala. "I am tired of fights. I am not tired of lines." "What do we do?" she asked. "We draw one," he said, "where everyone can see it." They saddled the sorrel and a roan. Evan tied a coil of wire to the horn, a hammer to his belt, and a sack of smooth river stones to the back cinch. Tala took a rifle and the proofs and tucked them under her coat. They rode to the creek where the wash opened wide. Pale stones rose from thin water. Evan set the sack on the gravel. He stacked stones in 2 low pillars on the near bank, a yard apart, then set a third on the far side in line with the first 2. "This is the line," he said. "If they cross it, we answer with everything we have. If they stay back, we keep our proof and our plan." He walked to an old pole where a cut wire hung like a dry vine. He stripped a fresh end and scraped it clean with his knife. "Hold the coil," he said. Tala fed the wire as he spliced and nailed it along a fence post. "Will the stations hear us?" she asked. "They will if I call in both tongues," he said. Hoofbeats thudded on the ridge. A handful of riders formed a dark line against the snow. The deputy's voice carried thin across the cold. "Last word, Cole, sundown." Evan lifted his hat so the riders could see his face. "Here is mine," he called. "These stones mark a boundary. Step over and you start a war on my land. Stay back, and we speak as men." The riders milled. The deputy spat. The line boss did not speak. Tala felt fear press at her ribs and then pass. When men name a line, you learn what they are. They rode home slowly. Inside, he checked the sounder, tapped the key, and waited. A faint tick answered. "Dry Fork listens," he said. "Then we are not alone," she said. He wrote, and the key chattered. "Message to Dry Fork and North Road. Reward fraud shown. Names to follow. Hold the wire." "Sundown," he said. "We have hours. We use them. We prepare." "What do you need?" Tala asked. "I need you to breathe and tell me how they think," he said. "I will set gates and rig the tower. I will lay mirrors where moonlight can find them. And I will make one more thing. What thing? A place the truth can stand when men try to trample it. He touched the proofs. Here, on this table. And out there, at those stones. They worked while the sun crawled a cold path. Evan showed Tala the weak hinges on the east gate and the heavy latch on the south one. Stampede gates swing only once, he said. They must open fast and lock behind the herd. He tested each post with his boot. Tala fetched spikes, wire, and a pry bar. Work set her mind straight. She hammered where Evan pointed, then studied how the rails met. If we leave this top board loose, she said, we can kick it free when we need the herd to surge. Evan eyed the joint and nodded. Good eye. He cut a notch, set the loose board, and tied a strip of cloth under it. Grab and pull, he said. Even in the dark. They moved to the water tower. It leaned over the yard like a tired giant. Evan looped a rope through the cross braces and tied it to a slip knot, fixing the free end to a stout pin in the ground. Trip line, he said. One jerk, the pin jumps, the tower dumps, and how much water? Enough to turn Dry Fork to mud for a minute, he said. A minute is long in a fight. They tested the knot twice, resetting with cold hands. Tala memorized each knot by touch. Half hitch, clove, bowline. She said the names under her breath like a prayer. Next came mirrors. Evan had a crate of metal plates from a broken stove. He wiped each one and held it to the pale sun. At night, the moon gives you a thread. Catch it and throw it. A partner can aim by it. Like a quiet shout, Tala said. Quieter, he said. He set plates on fence posts and the shed roof, then checked angles from the window. If I flash twice, you shift left. 3, right? 1 long fall flat. I will see, she said. They strung the telegraph splice. Evan climbed a ladder and ran wire along old insulators. Tala fed the coil and kept a steady pull. Hold firm, he said. Not tight. At the table, he tested the key and the sounder. A faint tick answered from Dry Fork, then another from North Road. He sent, prepare to copy. Proof coming at night? He set the poster scrap and the pay stub on a board, pinned them with nails, and drew arrows that linked the clerk marks. The board became a plain map of the lie. When men gather, they must be shown, he said. We will show. Tala added 1 line. Routing code N4 Emery Cache. 3 dots, Mega off book 2 stations. Witness Evan Cole, witness Tala. Wind hissed at the door. Evan stoked the stove, filled 2 canteens. Eat, he said. Then we walked the line. They ate without talking. After, they carried tools to Dry Fork Crossing. Evan set 2 more pillars on the near bank, spaced down the line. If they break one, the others still speak. He tied a thin wire between the middle stones that ran back toward the tower. When the wire snaps, it frees the pin. So the river will rise when the line breaks, Tala said. Exactly. They tested the slack with their fingers. Tiny things held or failed in silence. They fixed failures, then tested again. Dusk came. Evan placed mirror plates where moonlight would skate off the snow and find them. He checked sight lines from a low hollow and marked the spot with a chipped horseshoe. Now the herd, he said. They walked the fence and opened the path from the night pen to the wash. Evan moved among the cattle, speaking low. He left a trail of hay to the unlocked gate. If pressed, they will follow hay and each other, he said. They do not need to run far. Only enough to break a line of men. Tala stroked a calf's neck. I do not want them hurt, she said. Neither do I, he said. Hurt is not the plan. Movement is. They walked back under a thin moon. On the ridge, a rider sat his horse where the deputy had stood. They will come at night, Tala said. Yes, Evan said, and we will meet them in our own light. Inside, he lay out rifles, cartridges, and rope. He set the board with the proofs near the door. He placed a Bible on the table. He tapped the key twice, then 3 times in the pattern he had taught. 2 tiny flashes answered. Dry Fork and North Road had eyes. Tala tightened her coat and checked the mirrors from the window. If they cross the stones, she said, we answer. We answer, he said, and blew out the lamp. The house settled into silence. Outside, the wire hummed like a brave string. Frost made the yard shine like glass. Evan and Tala kept the lamps dark. Outside, the herd breathed slowly. A bell rang once on the ridge. Not a cow, a signal. Evan lifted 2 fingers. Tala slid to the window and raised a mirror plate to catch the thin moon. 4 riders eased from the cottonwoods and stopped before the boundary stones. 2 more drifted wide. 1 dismounted and crouched, measuring the gap. Evan flashed the mirror twice. Tala shifted to watch the north edge. She heard a scrape by the water tower too near. A man lay flat, sawing at the ground pin. Wait, Evan breathed. He slipped out the back, circled the tower, and tossed a pebble against the brace. The saboteur flinched and looked up. Lose something? Evan said. The man slashed. Evan's pistol cracked. The knife flew and stuck in the dirt. The man bolted for the trees. A voice rolled from the ridge. Cole, by sundown she rides with us. Don't make it ugly. Evan set his back to the door. Lines are for men who wish to stay men, he called. Cross and you say you are not. Then a smoother tone, the line boss. Give her up, keep your water and herd. No, Evan said. At the stones, a rider swung a rawhide loop to drag a pillar. Tala rested the rifle on the sill and fired. The loop snapped. The horse danced. Evan fired left, hitting river water in a tall hiss. Next one bites, he said. They pulled back, thinking. On the table, the sounder clicked. Dry fork ready, North Road listening, Evan sent. Proof after midnight, witnesses at dawn. They heard, he said. We only need to hold. A spark winked near the hay lane. Fire, Tala said. Evan ran with a wet canvas and a shovel. He smothered one flame, kicked dirt over another, and smashed a rolling lantern. Glass sliced his palm. He wrapped it and kept moving. A rifle boomed from the ridge. Wood split above the door. Tala flattened. They want me smaller, Evan said. The herd rustled. Tala stepped to the loose board on the night pen. She touched the cloth tie. Not yet, she whispered. Hoofbeats found the wash's curl. 2 riders probed for a narrow place. Tala gave one long flash, fall flat. Evan dropped. 2 shots tore the air. He rose and sent one back. Wet warmed his forearm. A graze under the wrap. He flexed his fingers. They worked, you're hit, Tala said. Borrowed blood, he said. He checked the tower pin, still firm. The tripwire still taut. From the far north, a train breathed. Tala thought of clerk marks and the routing code. She pulled the proof board near the door. They tried cuts, fire, and noise, she said. Next is speed. And the last trial before the storm, Evan said. The deputy rode down alone, hat low, hands wide. He stopped 5 paces from the line. Cole, he called, you know how this ends. Give her up. Evan walked to the stones until he saw the man's eyes. This place feeds my herd and my word, he said. You cross, you'll drink mud. The deputy nudged forward so his horse's hoof touched the first stone. The wire sang. Tala lifted her rifle. The moon leaned toward the ridge. The deputy smiled. Sundown is when I say. Not here, Evan said. He eased back and spat in the water. We come when the shadows break. We'll be here, Evan said. He turned. The riders drew away. They'll come when the moon tips, Evan said. Then we tip the river, Tala said. They checked knots, mirror angles, and latches. Evan packed cartridges, set the rope by the door, and placed the proof board and Bible on the table. He tapped the key, 2 short, 3 short. 2 tiny flashes answered from the ridge. Tala faced the stones and slowed her breath. She pictured the wash filling, the herd flowing, the mirror signals threading night. What do I do first? She asked. When the wire snaps, pull the loose board, Evan said. Then drop behind the trough. 2 glints, right. 3 left. 1 long, down. And you? I'll drop the tower and throw the first gate. The moon thinned to a sharp boat. Evan touched the tower rope, the gate tie, and the tripwire in a last round. He pressed his hand to the nearest stone. These hold more than rock tonight, he said. They hold a promise, Tala said. Near the ridge, a horse pawed. Metal chinked. The woods went still. Evan stood with Tala at the door. The line was bright in his mind, simple and straight. Hold the line, he said. "We hold," she said. The dark took a breath and the night began to move. The ridge held its breath. Then hooves poured from the cottonwoods like loose gravel. Riders fanned wide and arrowed for the stones. Tala lifted a mirror plate and threw 2 quick flashes. Evan slid left, dropped to a knee, and sighted the first man to break the near bank. A gun boomed from the trees. Tala felt the shot's wind on her cheek and did not duck. She waited for the man with the rawhide loop. When he leaned to cast, she fired. The loop spun and fell in the water. "Now," Evan said. He yanked the tower rope and jerked the ground pin free. Iron groaned, old wood cried, and the tank tipped. Water crashed in a cold sheet, hit the wash like a hammer, and ran fast, brown with silt. The stones stood one breath, then the flood wrapped them white. Horses screamed. Men cursed. The front rank bunched and slid as the current pawed their knees. Tala moved along the fence, checking the tripwire where it was tied to the stones. It went tight, sang, and snapped. Evan touched her shoulder. Board. She ran to the night pen, grabbed the cloth tie, and pulled. The loose board popped free. Evan kicked the latch. The gate flew open. The herd moved as a single thought. They flowed through the dark lane toward the wash. Tala ran the outside of the lane, keeping pace, speaking low so the young ones would not panic. "Easy, go," she said. "Go as water goes." Evan cut to the second gate and yanked his rope. A hinge gave. The line opened. He sent one tight whistle. The lead cow swung, following the hay he had dropped. The herd curved like a river around a bend. "Left," he called. Tala flashed twice. Evan fired at the far flank, not at men but at Splash, throwing fear where he wanted feet to go. Hoof thunder filled the wash. Water and cattle turned the night into a force. Riders tried to pull back. The flood grabbed their mounts and the herd pressed their sides. One horse went to its knees and thrashed. The rider rolled free and crawled for a root. Tala aimed, then let him go. He had dropped his gun. "Gate 3, Evan shouted. She sprinted, shoved the latch, and the last slat gave. The tail of the herd spilled through and struck the probing riders on the right. A man went over backward into the water. Another lost his hat and, with it, his aim. The deputy fired from the ridge, fast and angry. Bullets chewed the corral post. Evan breathed out, chose the dark triangle under the brim, and sent one shot. The hat flew again. The deputy ducked. "Warning spent," Evan said. The line boss pressed forward in the chaos, steady, not fast. He kept to higher stones and waited for the herd to pass. They worked the plan until the herd's run became a shuffle and then a stand. Cattle shook water from their coats and snorted. Evan swung the gates shut with raw hands, then tied them with knots he could cut in one pull. The wash ran thick but lower. Moonlight laid a stripe on the surface. From the ridge, 2 tiny flashes answered the mirror. Neighbors and stations watching. "Time," Evan said. They moved to the house. Evan set the proof board on the table, where the open door made a stage. He warmed the lamp wick, kept it dark, and tapped the key in a slow count. Dry Fork answered. North Road answered. Evan sent the code in clerk tongue and plain words. Reward funds N4. 3 dots off book. Deputy and line boss move cash. False poster. Witnesses hold. Movement brushed the yard. Shadows regrouped at the stones. The flood had brought breath, not peace. "They will come again," Tala said. "They must," he said. "The lie is running out of room." He checked the mirror on the sill. He saw the boss shift to the far pillar. He saw one man feel for a shallow. He saw the deputy's hat under the alder. Evan set the Bible under the proofs and placed a small stone on the corner. "Hold," he said to the board. Tala wiped her rifle dry and shook out the ache in her hands. She had air, proof, and a partner. Outside, water talked to stone. The herd stamped and quieted. The night took a new breath. The boss lifted his hand. The riders leaned as one and began to cross again, slow and sure, like men stepping through a church door. "Ready?" Evan said. "Ready," Tala answered. Wind slid along the rails. A train breathed far. She lifted the mirror. He raised his gun. The line waited, bright and narrow in the dark. Water slid back into its banks, but the night kept its teeth. The riders found their nerve and pushed again, slow, careful, feeling for rock under the skin of the wash. Evan watched the line boss in the saddle. The man rode like a surveyor, measuring ground, not glory. Tala held the mirror near the sill and waited for Evan's breath to steady. 2 flashes. She angled the plate. Evan shifted right and let the boss come. He wanted the man to choose the stones, not the mud. Behind them the herd stood shoulder to shoulder, a living fence. The first horse stepped into the white lane between the pillar stones. Water licked its fetlocks. The rider behind drifted left. Tala breathed in, breathed out, and watched hands, not hats. Fingers tell the truth before mouths. The deputy yelled, angry again. "Cole, your minute is done." He pointed to the house. "We pull it down if she stays." Evan answered without raising his voice. "Come do it," the deputy spurred. The horse hit the river's pull and checked. He chopped its neck. Evan put a bullet in the water at the animal's nose. It reared and spun. The deputy almost fell, then clawed back. Tala slid to the table, tapped the key 3 times to wake the line, and wrote, "Boss and deputy cross Dry Fork to take a witness." She sent it twice with clerk marks wrapped around the plain words. Dry Fork clicked. North Road echoed. "Good," Evan said. "Hold their ears open." "Open," Tala said. The boss eased forward. When his horse's knees met the current, he raised a hand. 3 riders flowed with him. Evan wanted more water.
He had 1 pull of slack left on the tower rope.
He wrapped it around his fist and heaved. The last of the tank's belly let go. A new rush slapped the stones. The second rider lost a stirrup and grabbed his horse's mane. The third tried to wheel, found no ground, and drifted sideways. The boss stayed straight. "Signal," Evan said. Tala flashed twice. Evan shifted left and fired 3 rounds in a slow walk, stepping splash across the far bank. Men ducked. The boss used the blink. He slid forward, stepping from stone to stone as if the river had been laid for him. He reached the center. Tala felt a thread pull through her chest. "He is coming. I see him." Evan lifted the rifle, sighted low at the dark where water met leather. He did not fire. Not yet. Hoofbeats banged the north fence. 2 fresh riders had crept wide and now sprinted for the angle by the hay lane. Tala ran, boots eating mud. She got to the rope, hauled it, and swung the barred section shut. The first wide rider tried to cut inside and met wood. The second took a shot that chewed a post. Splinters stung her cheek. She flashed 1 long line down. Evan dropped to the porch as a round tore shingles off the eave. He crawled, not proud, only alive. "You good?" he asked. "Good," she said, and meant it. The sting was nothing. She had air and footing. She had a job. Evan rose on a knee, took the wide rider's shoulder with a clean shot, and sent the man into the snow. The horse bolted and found safer ground by itself. The other saw more trouble than pay and pulled away. At the line, the boss reached the far pillar and put 1 boot on it. A man behind him cheered too soon and lost his horse's rhythm. The animal slipped and sat in the river. Metal clanged. The sounder ticked fast. Hold wire. Sheriff waking. Men on the road. Tala sent 1 answer. "Witnesses ready." She placed the Bible on the proofboard and pressed her palm to both. The deputy fired at the window. Glass jumped and fell. Cold rushed her cheeks. She lifted the rifle over the sill, found the shape of his chest, then slid the sight a hand-width low. The shot smacked the river and sprayed him. He flinched and wiped his mouth like a man spitting out a lie. Evan breathed out. The boss took his second step onto the pillar. 3 feet more and he would be across. "Time," Evan said. "We teach him where the road ends." "How?" Tala asked. "With the stones." Evan walked into the open yard until the boss could see him clearly. He kept the rifle down so the choice would have only 1 author. "Boss," he called. "Set that 3rd step and you are not crossing a creek. You are stepping into my house." The boss did not answer. He looked at Evan as if he were a fence post. He lifted his boot slowly. The boss lifted his boot. Evan did not raise his rifle. He stepped into the yard and felt the cold air wash his skin. Tala stood by the window, mirror plate ready, rifle near her elbow, eyes steady. Water whispered around the stones like breath through teeth. "Set it," Evan called. "Make your choice where all can see." The boss set his boot on the last pillar stone. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. The deputy grinned, thinking he would win. Then the boss slid 1 inch farther, testing how much the night would hold. Evan walked to the first pair of stones on his bank. He placed his boot inside the white lane. "Here," he said. "Here is the line. Cross and you answer to me, not a poster." The boss rode 1 foot forward and let the horse stand. He dismounted into the river, water to his knees, saddle between him and Evan. "You like lines," he said, low, almost calm. "This one ends tonight." "It ends where it stands," Evan said. He moved into the wash and felt the current take his legs at the shins. Cold bit. He kept the rifle down and his hands open. The boss eased along the horse's flank, fist near a short club tucked through his belt. Tala lifted the mirror and gave Dry Fork 3 short flashes, then North Road 3 more. She pressed the key and wrote, "Boss in the water, boundary duel, witnesses come." Both lines answered, "Coming." The riders spread into a half ring. Men leaned in their saddles, waiting. The deputy kept low, eyes hunting a coward's shot. Tala watched him. Evan and the boss closed until one more step would make talking useless. "You send paper to buy blood," Evan said. "You hide names inside clerk marks and cut truth in half." The boss looked at the stones in the house. "I move cattle," he said. "I move cash. I move men who don't fit." "You move a lie," Evan said. "Tonight the lie stops." The boss smiled without warmth. He whipped the club from his belt and lunged across the last foot of water. Evan stepped sideways, took the hit on his forearm, and let the rifle fall. He slammed his shoulder into the boss's chest. Both went under. Cold closed over Evan's head. He tasted mud and rust. He drove his feet against the rock and came up inside the boss's reach. The club smashed his ribs, white than night. He grabbed the man's coat and shoved him hard into the boundary pillar. Stone bit the boss's spine. He hooked Evan's leg. They dropped together. Evan's back hit a rock. Pain flashed. He turned the man and forced his face into the current. The boss bucked, strong and trained. On the bank, the deputy rose and aimed for Evan's back. Tala fired first. The bullet split the river at the deputy's horse's feet. The animal leaped and threw him. He landed in the mud. His gun was lost. "Stay down," Tala said, voice flat. "Stay small." She tapped the key. "Deputy down. Sheriff, hurry." Lanterns bloomed far on the road. In the wash, the boss hammered Evan's ear. Sound went thin. Fingers scrabbled for his throat. Evan dropped his chin, took the wrist, and torqued it until the club fell. He kicked it away and set his forearm under the boss's jaw. "You cross," he said through his teeth. "You answer." The boss drove an elbow into Evan's cut ribs. Evan's legs sagged. He locked his hands and drove forward. They hit the pillar again. The stone did not move. That steadied him. The riders shouted. Some urged the boss to finish it. Some watched silently. Tala could hear both kinds by how they breathed. She flashed twice right. Evan shifted his stance, found stone under his heel, and shoved. The boss slipped. Evan pinned his forearm across the man's throat and pressed him to the pillar so his cheek met the boundary mark. "Look," Evan said. "This is where you stop." The boss jerked a knee. Evan took it on bone and held. His lungs burned. He had 3 breaths to make it hold. Tala lifted the proof board into the doorway and raised the lamp so the paper marks showed. She called in a clear voice that the ridge could hear. "We have the clerk's marks. We have the cash code. Names on paper. Witnesses here." Lanterns grew brighter on the road. Voices answered, "Hold it, coming." She heard a sheriff's voice and the slap of boots in shallow water. The boss heaved once more. Evan held. He pressed the man's face to the pillar until the current took fight out of his legs. The night drew tight, a held breath waiting to be let go. The boss sagged against the pillar. Evan kept his forearm tight and his feet set on stone. Water dragged at their legs and filled the night with a cold roar. Tala saw his jaw lock and knew pain would speak if he let it. He did not. Lanterns swung along the road like slow stars coming down. The sheriff waited first, trousers dark to the thigh, hand on his holster but gun low. "Hold," he called. "No one fires." Tala lifted the proof board in the doorway. The lamp lit the clerk's marks. "Here," she said, steady. "Rail code N4, 3 dots over the middle digit. Off-book cash. Deputy as courier. Line boss as signer. Poster forged on the same route." The sheriff's eyes moved from paper to men pinned to stone. "Boss," he said, voice hard now. "Did you cross that line?" The boss tried to grin. "I crossed a creek." "You crossed a boundary after a clear warning," the sheriff said. "That makes trespass with threat." "Threat?" The deputy coughed from the mud. "He flooded us." "You rode on a false bounty," the sheriff said. "We'll sort the order later. First, we stop the bleeding." 2 townsmen moved to the deputy. Tala kept the rifle low. "Gun at his boot," she said. A farmer towed it away and pocketed the knife. Evan breathed like a man lifting a beam. "Sheriff," he said without looking up, "you have witnesses and wire. Proof on this board. Ink on their hands." The sheriff stepped close. "I see enough to make arrests." He pointed at the deputy. "Stand up slow." He pointed at the boss. "Release him to me, Cole." Evan eased back without giving the boss room to swing. The sheriff took the man by the collar and turned both thumbs under like a hinge. The boss stiffened. Iron cuffs clicked. He spat river water, not words. Dry Fork's telegraph man splashed up, hat tied under his chin. He looked at the board. "That's clerk script," he said. He held a copy of the wire. "I logged their message and yours. North Road's man did the same. 2 records, 2 paths, 1 lie." Tala felt the tight band around her chest loosened. Finally, she kept the rifle ready. Endings try to bite. The deputy jerked once and tried to run. Mud took his boots. The sheriff's deputy, the real one, tripped him and knocked the wind from his lungs. "Stay," he said. "You move when the jail door does." Evan stepped back from the pillar and picked up his fallen rifle. He did not lift it. He held it like a handrail while the ground came back under him. Blood ran from his ear. Tala moved to him, but not fast. She waited until the sheriff nodded. "Go to him," he said. She crossed on stones and touched Evan's sleeve. His eyes were clear but far. "I'm here," she said. "I know," he said. "You kept the wire talking." "And you kept the stones speaking," she said. The sheriff faced the riders. "Hear me," he called. "False bounty is fraud. The railroad will answer for letters and money. Men who carried it will answer for deeds. The rest of you can go home or stand as witnesses. Choose now." Faces changed. 3 stepped forward to speak. 2 turned and rode away. No one crossed the stones again. Tala lowered the lamp wick so the board would not scorch. Steam rose from wet coats and from the herd's backs. The tower dripped. The mirrors held thin moons. Dry Fork's man looked at Tala. "You sent it clean," he said. "Saved us time." "Truth only needs a path," she said. Evan swayed once. She put her shoulder under his and he leaned a little, enough to let air find space. The sheriff turned to the house. "We'll take statements inside," he said. "Warmth for the lady first." "She stands," Tala said. "But thank you." He tipped his hat, then faced the boss and the deputy. "You 2 walk in front where we can see you. Hands where God can too." They started up the bank. The boss stumbled at the last step and looked back at the pillars. Tala saw the moment when a man knows a rule again. He lowered his eyes. Evan touched the nearest stone as he passed. A simple promise, not loud. Men filtered toward the porch. The herd settled like a tired choir. The wash ran brown, then clearer. Tala stood in the doorway with the proof board and watched the line hold. The weight of her name lifted. It did not fly away. It was set down where she could reach it. Inside, the stove ticked. Outside, lanterns pooled on the road. The night had changed shape. It would not change back. Dawn came slowly and honestly. Frost drew lace on the porch rail. The sheriff took statements at the table while men stamped their boots and passed the cup. The proof board lay between the Bible and the key. Dry Fork's telegraph man tapped a new message as the sheriff spoke. North Road confirms fraud route. Bounty void pending. Hold the accused. He sent it twice. North Road answered with the same words and clerk marks that matched the board. The boss stared at the pillar stones from the doorway, hands cuffed. The deputy kept his eyes on the floorboards. When the sheriff asked why the code digits wore 3 dots, the deputy blinked and said nothing. Tala stood beside the window where the glass had broken. Cold touched her face, but it felt clean. She told the story plainly. The posters lie, the freight car, the coupler pin, the wire marks, the flood, the herd, the stones. Her voice did not shake. Evan sat straight. Blood had dried in his hair. A bruise bloomed on his ribs. He spoke in short lines. He said what he saw, not more. When he finished, he set his hand on the edge of the board. The sheriff signed 2 papers. One held the men for fraud and assault. The other declared the bounty invalid until a judge could stamp void across it. He gave Tala a copy. The paper was thin but heavy. Keep this, he said. Ride with it. Sleep with it if you have to. I will, she said. Neighbors drifted out to pen the herd and check the tower braces. Someone brought a pane of glass. The house warmed. When the cuffs clicked shut inside the sheriff's wagon, the road filled with lantern light. The wagon rolled away with the boss and the deputy inside. The sound faded and the yard grew quiet. Evan and Tala stood by the door looking at the wash. Water slid clear now. The stones kept their shape. The mirrors caught a last pearl of morning moon and then went dull as the sun climbed. You could go, Evan said, voice soft. The paper will carry you past talk for a time. I could, she said. But your well is low. Your fence is tired. You will need a set of eyes on water and sky. I would not mind that, he said. I do not like to run, she said. I like to stand where a line was held. Sometimes standing means staying. He looked at the stones. Sometimes it does. They walked to the crossing. Evan reset the broken tripwire, then left it slack and harmless. The tower ticked as it dried. Tala stepped from rock to rock, testing each one with her boot. These will do, she said. They mark a start, not a wall. Good, he said. I am done with walls. They spent the day with simple work. Evan mended a hinge and oiled a latch. Tala strung new wire and wrote a route map for the station men to copy and keep. They stacked firewood, raked straw, and salted the herd. The ranch took back its shape with every steady task. At noon, a wagon from town rattled in with seed and a sack of nails paid on credit by 2 neighbors. A woman from the church left bread and a coat. Later, Evan walked her to the west pasture and showed her the lay of the draws. She read the grass-like script and named where water would hide if summer burned long. Evening colored the cottonwoods. They stood by the gate. He cleared his throat. I keep a few rules, he said. Most of them were for hiding. I plan to keep different ones. What rules? She asked. No lies, he said. No cruelty. And no one faces a storm alone, she nodded. I can live by those. They carried a small stone each to the crossing and set it on the nearest pillar. The herd lowered and settled. Night came without fear. The wire on the wall was quiet except for one short tick that felt like a neighbor's good night. Evan banked the fire. Tala folded the paper that voided the bounty and slid it under the board with the clerk's marks. 2 proofs, 1 path. On the porch, stars flared. Evan looked at the road. You can have the spare room, he said. Or the loft if you like the wind. I like the loft, she said. And the wind, he nodded. Then stay. I will, she answered. The stones watched. The line held. The house felt larger, not because the walls moved, but because fear had. Stars were cold and bright. The night listened. Morning would ask for water and work. They would answer together. If this tale gripped you, tap like. It tells YouTube to show it to more people. Subscribe to The Next Frontier Story and hit the bell so you don't miss it.